So welcome everybody. My name is Paweł Mączka. With me should be Olivier Lambert. Olivier, are you there?
Yes. Hello everyone.
Great. Let's take a 1 minute extra to wait for the other participants, and we'll wrap up and start. Unfortunately, we tested the quality and Olivier won't be able to use the video, but I'm guessing, Olivier, you are all the time smiling because of the webinar and because of our audience.
Yes, sure, I am. But yeah, we indeed made a test with both, showing my webcam and the screen share, and I'm at home with a small DSL connection, so it's not enough.
But maybe just enable for a few seconds to wait.
Yeah, sure. Let me try to do that. Yeah, just to say hi.
Okay.
The trick is not just to have both at the same time. Okay, so enable the webcam.
We got you.
Hello everyone.
Hey, thank you to taking the invitation for our webinar. So what's the plan? Plan is to explain the XCP-ng from the scratch, from the zero to the hero. And I believe that you are the best person who can explain in details and go deep dive what's going on behind this technology and why actually the XCP-ng appeared and launched on the market. How many years ago?
2 years ago, exactly.
2 years ago. It's already 2 years. Okay, I still remember that you launched the project. Yeah. So next we will divide our session into the two different presentation. Olivier, you will start. You will have few slides explaining the XCP-ng concept. Then, like I ask you, you will share the live demo of a product, because I believe there are some people who are first time seeing the XCP-ng, but also maybe there will be more advanced users. So if you already started using the XCP-ng, I will just start in a pool in a few minutes. Do not hesitate, ask us a question on the chat. I believe that Olivier is the best person to ask all of the questions regarding the XCP-ng. Then I will take my part and explaining the different strategy, how to make life easier for the admins from the backup and recovery perspective. So Olivier, the stage is yours, my friend. Let's go deep dive. Please share screen and let's start the presentation.
Okay, so I'm going full screen first. Okay, so I will introduce a bit about XCP-ng and the whole stack. So first, I'm the Vates CEO and co-founder, which is the company behind this project, and the other one. I'm a former system administrator. I'm using Xen since a while, and I've created both Xen Orchestra and XCP-ng projects. So right now, XCP-ng itself is a project hosted inside the Linux Foundation. And if you want to take a look at the slides, they're available on vates.fr/Storware. So before going a bit deeper, so I'm using a lot of those words, Xen, etc. So I like to give you a small, start, bootstrapping the context. So basically Xen, you probably heard of it. It's the engine, the hypervisor, and it's used at, for example, AWS, IBM, Citrix, a lot of large companies. But it's just, the engine. And XCP-ng is not just the engine, it's a whole car. It's a virtualization platform with a tool stack, an API, etc. And it's like an ISO of, I don't know, any other Linux distro. But the thing is, you don't have to configure anything to get it running inside your data center. So you just, plug the USB key, install it, and then you're ready to go. And then the other piece of the stack is Xen Orchestra, which is the management layer. So to give you a quick overview, you can see here, you can manage it from the web UI using Xen Orchestra, with the clients. And Xen Orchestra itself is connected to all the hosts. So it might be, familiar if you are using, for example, VMware. So here's, something coming straight from the VMware documentation. And we didn't plan to do that, but in the end, we have something really similar in terms of architecture. ESXi is XCP-ng and vCenter is Xen Orchestra. So this, as you can see here, it's very similar. So quick recap.
Open question, Olivier.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, open question. How many times and what is the most comparison virtualization that your customers or partners is asking? So they're saying you like Citrix or you are like VMware. So what's the most common question when are they comparing your technology?
The most common question, the most common question at the start was a comparison to Citrix Hypervisor, commonly known as Citrix XenServer before, and because finally, the Citrix customers were our first customers because we did a fork of the platform. So we somehow, get XenServer and modify it to make XCP-ng itself. So the first question was against a Citrix Hypervisor comparison, but then when we started to have more and more traction, people outside the Citrix world started to ask how it compared to, and to be fair, the first on the market is VMware. So that's why often explain to people coming into XCP-ng world to compare to VMware because it's the most known virtualization platform. So that's why I'm showing a comparison between VMware in terms of architecture, and it's very, very close in terms of where are all the bits.
Okay, thanks.
So Xen Orchestra, the irony of the story is we started first on Xen Orchestra 7 years ago now, so it's been a while. And at the time, you had both XenServer and XCP, which was the completely open source version of XenServer made by Citrix too. And Xen Orchestra became the reference tool to manage it. I mean, even Citrix is using it internally, and they are customers of Xen Orchestra. So we added a lot of features. Xen Orchestra is released monthly, so you can do the math, but that's a lot of releases. And it became the central, points like, vSphere or vCenter, sorry, for like VMware. You can have a unified API to control everything from there. And it is open source, and it comes in different flavors, but basically you have the fully turnkey version that you just download, it works, or you can use it from GitHub. And now for XCP-ng itself, to give you a bit of context, as I said, Citrix now killed XenServer free 3 years ago. And a lot of our customers were not happy with that, and we had no control on it. So we decided to take control, to take the code. And it's not just a matter of taking the code; you need to master it too. So the two challenges we had was to both people using it. So it was a great success. We had a lot of people now using, a lot of huge community on the forums and customers everywhere, from small to big users and customers, but also success because finally we've been asked to provide support for it. So the business model is pretty simple. It's support per machine per year, not by socket core, whatever. There's no restriction. You can just download it and use it. So it's pretty simple to use. So that's how we've been working on XCP-ng. It was more by reaction against, let's say, a bad Citrix move, but in the end, now we got the whole stack managed. So some news, some even exclusive news that we are releasing today here with you. For the end of the summer or something like that, we'll have our first long-term version coming. So it means this version will have support for many years, probably 5 years at least. So that might be interesting if you want to have something supported for a long time without having to make large upgrades. Our team doubled recently, so now we are 8 people, and believe me, it's not really easy to find people that are really, strong with very low-level stuff like working in hypervisor and kernel and that kind of stuff. We unlock also.
I can imagine always when we trying to gaining the new engineers, they saying are you going to the AWS or the others because it's the serverless world?
Yeah.
And they say no, let's come back. So not everybody will
exactly.
go there. So let's focus
and
on
to be
what's
fair,
important.
Yeah, and to be fair, a lot of even students, just finishing their studies are almost going to Facebook or AWS or Google or those giants. So you have to be, there very soon to be able to get people working with you in a small startup like ours. But we've managed to do that because we've been from, I would say not 0 because I was there, but 1 to 8 people right now. So it's growing pretty fast, and it will continue to grow that way because we've managed to unlock a kind of state grant for doing a lot of research and development. So it was a really reasonable amount that we are investing fully in research and development. And so it allows us to deliver a lot of really nice features. And it will continue like that in the way that we are focusing on 2 things right now: platform security, like secure boot, edge computing, and other cases like that, where security will be really important, but also on compute and storage performances to continue to improve the platform. Because somehow people started to think that there is no more innovation in the virtualization world, which is not true at all. There's so many things to work on to improve. And I mean, if you can have maybe 10 or 20% improvement performances regarding the storage from your virtual machine, that's really, really great. Whatever you are using on top, I mean, you can use Kubernetes on top of VM, whatever. But what matters is to continue to improve the platform security and performance. And the last point is, as we are doing today, growing the ecosystem. It's something that's really important for us to work with, third-party software and companies like yours, so we can, grow the number of compatible software working with XCP-ng. So this is the quick intro to XCP-ng, and now we'll do a quick tour. Let me display. Yeah. The UI. So basically here, as you will see, there is no black magic. This is a web UI connected to your pool. This is our lab. But anyway, you got the list of all the resources that you have. You can have some statistics, health. I would say something somehow like you can find for any decent virtualization platform with a web UI. So managing stuff from web console is really important nowadays. Seems almost a commodity, but still it's something that we have that works pretty well. You can create your VM console network, for example, installing Windows or whatever operating system that you want to use. But there's far more than that now in Xen Orchestra that you could use. For example, you can create a self-service, a place where you can create, resources and let people create VMs within those resources. You can create ACLs to let the users, directly access their VM from the web UI, plan VM start, extinction, reboot, whatever you like. So
you mean by self-service, you mean the multi-tenancy feature for managed service provider, or just self-service for internal?
It might be used. I got your point. It might be used in both ways, but here it's made mainly for internal use in the way that you don't have billing and that kind of things. So you can delegate for your developers team, for example, to be able to create any VMs they want within some quotas like CPUs, RAM, and storage. But then we have some customers coupled Xen Orchestra and XCP-ng with a billing platform, because due to the architecture of the Xen Orchestra, you have an API, so you could call the API of Xen Orchestra from directly the API, or we even have a CLI, so it doesn't matter. You could use it just as a backend if you like. So you can use it for both cases if you like, no problem. Okay, so we also have a hub, which is simple but something similar like the Docker hub, when you have some templates where you can directly download, install stuff, even recipes where you can deploy, for example, Kubernetes cluster, all of that kind of things. As I said, containers and virtualization is not mutually exclusive. It's more the opposite, because they can work together. So we have even plugins which are really great, and you probably know them into VMware world, like load balancer stuff, when you can spread the load on your hosts, the SDN controller, where you can create private tunnels between multiple hosts, even across different data centers. You got way to be alerted by Slack and that kind of thing. So it's very complete, that platform that could be compared to what you can do in a vCenter world if you are using VMware, except the fact that it's fully open source, and the business model is pretty simple because it's not license-based, but support-based. So that's pretty simple to deploy at scale. And to go back a bit to the use case we have, as I said, from small, more than 1,000 hosts with multiple data centers, so no problem with scales. To be fair, as we did the fork from Citrix XenServer, we didn't reinvent the wheel. We took the product and we improved it. We added features. We fixed some bugs. So we are working to push everything that we are doing in the upstream. So it will also somehow go within Citrix Hypervisor if they decide to take the change. It's up to them to choose that. But anyway, we are working to get best of both worlds and without any restriction. So I think I did a quick intro, and if there's question, or even you have question regarding this small presentation, go ahead.
A question from my side, Olivier. So what's the best and the most common scenarios, implementation scenarios that you find it in the XCP-ng? Is it small, medium, or large? Managed service providers, or
are you there?
Internal, let's say, IT stuff? What's the most common flavor that you see in the implementation?
Hello there.
Have you heard my question? Hello? Let's wait a second. I believe that it was too many upload megabytes that has come from the Olivier to his network. Hopefully he will come back in a minute. If not, I will start my part.
I'm back.
You're back. Okay. So I asked you a question. What's the most flavor and most common installation that you found it from the XCP-ng? Is it a managed service provider, small, medium, large installation?
That's a good question, and I think what our numbers are telling us, that's very, very diverse. We have indeed, for example, for the smaller customers, we have a lot of companies having their own machines on-prem. Let's say then we could say it's a segment of people with less than 10 or 15 machines. Then we have the average customers that are I would say often installed by service providers, installing them the solution. And we have very large providers that's not doing this. I mean, directly, for example, we have people working in multiple industry where they need to get their data on-prem for security reasons. And those guys prefer to have a complete, I would say to have the full hand on the whole platform and know what's going on. So that's, I would say, 1/3 for each. It's pretty balanced.
Okay, the major strength when you comparing your solution to the other virtualization distributions?
Okay, so there's two aspects. The first one is if you compare to, let's say, closed source platforms like VMware, Hyper-V, that kind of things, I would say that we try to be as turnkey as they are. So the same level of niceness to install it. That's something that's pretty easy to install. But the thing is, we are more flexible than those big players in the way that we could adapt to the customer requirements, because we can modify the products, and it will be obviously not the same category of pricing. And if you compare it to other, let's say, open source platform, it's very different in the way that it just works out of the box. And that's where my vision, of open source, since we created the company, is there's some space to, have a better integration of open source products. And XCP-ng is one example of that, because it's integration of a lot of great open source project, but delivered in a one product that's easy to use.
No, definitely. So the open source projects getting more and more traction. even what we've seen from the Red Hat world. Yes, of course, they are
Yeah.
much more bigger players, but they prove that to be open give you much more advantage for the customer's perspective.
Yeah,
because
especially on the flexibility thing side of things. And there's a question regarding using PowerShell tools or CLI to deploy, configure the infrastructure. And the answer is yes. We got a CLI both from the host or even from Xen Orchestra called XO CLI. And you can call the API directly. And we have a Terraform provider for Xen Orchestra. So, Terraform, the platform, allowing you to make a lot of automation to build entire stacks from a recipe. And it's compatible with that. So you can have a full automation without using the web UI, but just using, the CLI or the API.
Okay. Do we have any more questions to Olivier to the first part? So feel free to ask right now. Last chance, maybe not last, but one of them. Okay. So I believe we can go to the next section. So my part. Thank you, Olivier. You will come
You're
back
welcome.
in a 15 minutes. So no worries. I will also try to do my best to be as fast as possible. It's not always easy because I'm a talky guy. So a few words about vProtect itself. Like I said, I actually met and seen the Olivier work 2 years ago when they launched. Really, maybe not surprised, but really furthered what they did in the last 2 years. Because what we've seen, more and more customers is using XCP-ng, and they are satisfied customers. And our goal as a Storware vProtect is always to come in and asking, okay, what about the backup and recovery features? You need to be also aware that the Olivier is doing some job in this area. So treated their solution as a really component solution, even with the backup and recoveries. But we're doing something. We founded our own add-ons, and we value why you should use the vProtect with the XCP-ng. And one of the reasons we call it freedom of choice vision. So we supporting lots of different hypervisors, and one of them, of course, is the Xen-based and KVM-based hypervisors. So XCP-ng is one of them, one of our favorite one that we playing around worldwide with our customers. The next one, like I said, is a KVM base. You can also see the VMware and a Hyper-V, but we did in a little bit opposite way than the other backup players. So we haven't started with VMware and a Hyper-V. We just, after 5 years, added the Hyper-V and the VMware to our stack to address the need what if the customer is using the different hypervisor stack and they don't want to replace the backup platform. They would like to use a one to have it all. I will explain more about the freedom of choice vision from the backup destination point of view, so where we can actually store our backups. So let's talk about the major features. There are 6 of them. I always saying that if we're talking about vProtect, we need to be aware that this is the VM level, container level, agentless, full and incremental backups. It means that we don't need to install at all any of our agents. Everything is going through the API. We're talking with the XAPI API, so Xen API, to have all of the understanding what's going on behind the scenes. So we're asking about the VMs. We're asking about the changes. We'll talk about the changelog tracking in a second. But you need to keep in mind that this is the agentless data protection. What is more, because we managing the snapshots, we also have the capabilities to doing a snapshot management. You need to keep in mind that the snapshot is not a backup. Backup is always the full or incremental clone that you take in offline from your data center or from your source storage. Snapshot will help you to get better RPOs and RTOs, but it's a great enhancement to your existing backup policy. So when we're talking about these both capabilities, we always saying first backup policy, then as an add-on, the snapshot one. Important part is that because we don't have the agents, but we created some generic way to protect the applications, we can go and ingest into the specific VM and doing some, we call it execution command configuration. So we can actually execute any command inside the VM, for example, to dump a database or whatever we would like to by doing a script. It's much more advanced feature, but allows you to have the application backup running smoothly on your VMs as an additional feature based on your existing backup and recovery policies. Important part, and this is actually the differentiator that the other players doesn't have. We build the vProtect to work in two different modes. First mode, we are totally independent backup vendor, so we don't need anybody to work and be to compete with the other players, such as Veeam, Commvault, Veritas, and the others. But from the other hand, we integrate with the other enterprise backup providers, like IBM, like Veritas, or Dell EMC. So it means that we go into the enterprises saying, okay, we know that other big players doesn't care actually about the open source platforms. We've seen that they put so much attention to the VMware and a Hyper-V, because of it, they have a lack of the functionalities for the other platforms, like, for example, XCP-ng or the KVM-based hypervisor. So the reason is that we're going saying we can work as a media server and we can easily integrate with the third-party platforms to have one data flow to these specific vendors. So you will see the vProtect, be available in two different flavors, like a standalone and the add-on to the other backup players. RESTful API, because we designed vProtect 5 years ago, so we keep all of the best standards, so we can imagine that you can easily integrate your existing, let's say, backup workflow with your third-party portal or with your own portal. So this is a great news for everybody who planning to or want to be a managed service providers, etc. Coming back to the vision and the strategy that we decided 5 years ago, freedom of choice. From the left side, you can see the different source and different platforms that we support in, from the cloud through the containers application to the different hypervisors. And on the right side, you can see 3 different segments where we can actually store the data. The first and the most common one is the file system. So we keep in the data we take in the data from the hypervisors, in this scenario XCP-ng, to the file system, and we're using the native deduplication methods. Our favorite one is the virtual data optimizer, which is available on the CentOS or the Red Hat Enterprise Linux. But we can also integrate with the other file system vendors or the deduplication appliances, like Data Domain, Exagrid, Neverfail, etc. So first segment, first block is the file system. Second one is the object storage. So we can keep the data in the S3, in the OpenStack Swift, or the Azure Blob storage. So different flavors, option to store your backups in the directly in the object storage with the private clouds or the public clouds, of course. And the third one, this is what I said, the enterprise backup providers integration, so Dell, IBM, and the Veritas. There are 3 vendors that we cooperate in and working worldwide to provide the enhancement for their own existing infrastructures. Important for us is the scalability. So we designed vProtect to be really aggressive, to starting from the one node to even the hundreds of the different nodes, so we can scale by adding new nodes in our infrastructure. It's a scale out way, but we can also scale up, so adding the additional resources to the specific nodes. Let's say we started always with the one node and the server. Server is keeping the metadata and is responsible to orchestrate all of the management part. Node, this is the data mover. We call it always that he's doing a dirty job. So we're collecting the data and put into the different backup destination that we assign. we need to understand two different strategies. It's not that all strategies that are available in the XCP-ng, but I explain you two different that we use it. The first one, the older one, is the XVA, so export over API. The pros, so we're using the XVA format. We cannot, so we put all of the VM into the one single file, and we're using the API to export it to our backup destination. The good information that we can do a full incremental, but because we are bundle all of the different disk, for example, if we have VM with the 5 disk, we export in one file. We cannot, we don't have the option to individual file restoration option or to exclude the disk from the backup. So this is the older scenario, but we still see that many customers are using this scenario in their environments. Much more advanced, actually Xen Citrix introduced in 7.3, XCP-ng has it from the first version, is to using the native CBT options. And what you can find here is that the brilliant way we can easily load balancing the workload. So we asking each host that working in the XCP-ng cluster to have a backup and to work into the backup, sending it through the API to the vProtect, and the CBT itself we're using the NBD service to collect only the changes that will propagate through the node to our server. So in this scenario, full plus incremental forever approach can be easily applied through this strategy. In addition, this strategy allows us to have the option to exclude disk from the backup and the option to recover individual files from the backup. I will show you on a live demo in a few minutes. I said before, so we already spoke about two different strategies to get the VM-based level backup. But what if you have the application? There are a few ways to achieve this goal. One is to use the application backup module that allows you, like I said before, ingest. So we build a generic way to build the scripts execution going inside the VM. But you can also remember that we have a pre and a post snapshot option, or we can use the tools, XCP-ng VM tool, to QS, so to inform the VM during the backup that, hey, just freeze your file system, there will be some backup jobs doing. So we have a 3 different options how to cope with the application backup. Important part, because it's not only about the backup, but it's also about, and it's all about the recovery, is to give the option to use the recovery plans. So let's see this slide. Recovery plans allows you to plan and execute the restoration in a periodic way, like weekly restoration, monthly restoration, or yearly restoration in a, for example, second cluster that you can have in a nested virtualization in the cloud or in the other data center. We know that it's still pain in the ass for many of the admins, that they don't have enough time to use the periodic the recovery plan and recovery execution. So we helping them to achieve this goal by providing this functionality. The good news, I know that we're not so open like the Olivier project, but we're doing our best and giving the 10 VMs without any payment. So you have all functionality available, but the only limitation is the 10 VMs, and you cannot use the external backup providers like IBM, Veritas, or Dell. But the other features like object storage, file system, versioning, recovery plans, CBT, everything is included in a free version. So we're always trying to engage our partners, customers, to start and prove that our platform is worth to invest more time and purchase, for example, the licenses. If you will look for any more information, just Google vProtect documentation and you will be redirected to our Gitbook. All of the information regarding the XCP-ng or the other platforms, the strategies should be available on this on this Gitbook web page. Few words about our customers. We started from the small to really big ones. One of the most favorite one is Walt Disney, maybe because I have small children. And we need to find the Lego customer, Olivier. We need to talk about it. But also we have a banking, insurance, so many of the different industries that they use in most cases open source platforms, and they're looking for the proper, actually in most cases best in class application to help to achieve the backup and recovery features. So let's show you a really fast demo, because we don't have enough time. But in my demo you will see that, let me put a full screen. You should, okay, I need to change a way how to share it. Just give me a sec. Okay. You should see my XCP-ng with the two machines. One of them is the Alpine machine. Second one is XCP-ng webinar one. And let's go to our vProtect. Let's log in. So I will explain you the 3 ways how to cope with the newer installation. So you have a XCP-ng installed. I will go to the hypervisors, and I will go to hypervisors, and I need to add a new cluster or new hypervisor. It depends how many nodes I have. So here you can see that I already added. So add, choose the XCP-ng Citrix hypervisors, put the host, put the username, password, and which strategy you will use to make the backups done. I said about 2 different one. So VM full plus separate disk incremental, separate disk plus change block tracking. This is the one I always encourage customers to use. Let's see that I already choose it. Yes, we have it. I put the password, and after I added the XCP-ng, I need to always do the inventory synchronization. Inventory synchronization means that I need to communicate through the API with my host, asking what numbers of the different VMs you have in your environment. And what we found is that these 2 VMs, one of them is already added to the production policy. Next one is also added, but we haven't done a backup yet on it. So let's try to backup this one. The first full, we haven't backup yet. Let's grab this one. Let's backup incremental on the file system. We already created the file system based on the video, so we have an inline deduplication and compression. And we should assign the 2 different tasks. That is going here, so you can always monitor the task through the task console. We always changing the job into the 2 different tasks. So the backup job is the export. So we take in the data from the XCP-ng to our vProtect node. Then we have a store task. Store means that we take in this data, put into the backup destination. In our case, will be the virtual data optimizer file system. Okay, so do not wait. Let's try to see that the snapshot is working. So you can see that there is a change of the snap based on the vProtect. We always keep the first one to have the option to find the differential and changes since the first one. So in this strategy, you need to keep in mind that the always one snapshot will remain on the protected virtual machine. A really good scenario is to how to automate the assignment to the specific policy. So let's imagine that you have 1,000 of the different VMs and you don't want to manually add them to your existing environment. What we advise in this scenario is you can use the policies and the regex and the VM tags to automate assign the VM to the specific policy. Let me explain you and show you how to do it. In the VMs, let's go to the details. You can see the tag. I already created the vProtect tag. So if my machine is added here in a policy production SLA, I have tab auto assign, which tells me that if the machine uses a tag called vProtect, it will be automatically assigned when the next inventory synchronization will be will appear as a new task. How many times we're doing the inventory synchronization? By default, every 8 hours, but we can change it in a settings. Plus, we found many customers who has 1,000 machines plus, and using the regular expression to find the way, okay, use all of the DevOps machine or use only the production that they have, for example, prefix or postfix. So we can easily design a regex in a policy to find the proper machines, or to not only include but exclude them from the backups. And this is the most common scenarios how we apply the VM automation between the two different worlds, because in most cases the backup admins do not do in virtualization or in the opposite. Of course, in a bigger environments. In the small ones, in most cases, this is the one person. So for them, even this applies the regex or the tags are much more easier to it's much more easy to manage in the future, because you don't need to in a daily basis think about manual assignment. Okay, let's see that. Okay, we just finished the backups. Let's go to the specific machine. XCP-ng webinar. You can see that we done the first full backup. Let's see on the Alpine what's going on. There was the incremental small one. There's some information about the snapshot that was not removed. I'm aware of it because this is how our strategy works. And of course, in case of data restoration, we can choose which snapshot or which backup I would like to collect. So let's take the first one, actually, choosing where it should go, to which hypervisor, and let's name it the new cover. Yeah. Grab this task. It should be the restoration and import operation. It's already started. Last thing, if you would like to individually file restore, we call this feature mounted backups. It means that we mount in the full disk and we're using the guestfs tools to read the proper file system to be able to find the individual files and restore in an auto way by manual mounted, or to share over the iSCSI to the different hosts, for example. Okay, import is doing. Let's go to the QA session. If you have already asked, I will check on the chat, or maybe you already found a new question to the Olivier. So let's go to the official QA. Okay. Olivier, any question from your side?
Nope.
Everything works. So everything is good shapes. Let me try to see if I finalize my backup. Okay. So I just noticed that I finished the restoration, and this machine is already restored on my XCP-ng new recover VM. I can start this machine and play with it. Okay, so I believe we're done. We already took 45 minutes. So thank you for your time, attention, all of the questions. If you have any more questions during, let's say, in next hours or next days, or you remind anything else, just write us an email. Olivier, the best to you is using which social media or email? Just let the people know.
Yes, sure. And if there's any question regarding the stack or how it works, or if you need a demo or that kind of things, you can reach us on the XCP-ng website. There's a contact form, so feel free to send us something if you need.
Right, the same with the Storware. So just go on a Storware EU, find the proper form, or go to the vProtect tab. Then you will redirect to the free version. Play with it, giving us a feedback. What is the look and feel? And thank you for your time. Have a great day, Olivier. Special thanks for you to spend the time with us.
You're
Hopefully,
welcome.
it's not the last one. I'm planning to have the next one in the Q4.
So sure. It'll be a pleasure. Sure.
Okay. So have a great day for all of you. Thank you for the attendance. The recording will be available on the YouTube hopefully next week. Cheers. Bye-bye.